I survived, okay? And I lived to fight another day. And now what we're going to do is we're going to watch the second season from the comfortability of outside of the television.
People would be like, fake news. I'm covering a story about like a chicken shortage at Kroger.
We want them to find love. That is the best case scenario, but we're going to root for everyone. We're going to root for the people that are strong enough to choose what is best for them.
And I feel like people are trying to scam me. I hate to say that.
They are.
Let's start. Okay.
Right.
So, this is Ashley Thompson. I am with my best friend, Jessica Batten, and we're doing this. This is our first recording of the Unsettled podcast. We're so excited. We've been thinking about this for like 6 months.
For a while.
And
well, I crawled under my rock after Love is Blind came out, let's be honest.
Okay,
a couple years ago.
Okay, let's go back to that. So, I know that's why a lot of people are tuning in right now because they know you from a little show on Netflix called Love is Blind. That came out when?
February 2020.
Okay.
Right before a little pandemic happened.
The world shut down.
Yeah.
Okay, so that came out like 2 years ago.
2 years ago.
A new season.
And I mean, we filmed 3.5 years ago.
So when was
it came
that?
out 2 years ago. This feels like forever ago.
So we filmed in 2019?
We filmed it in 2018.
2018?
October of 2018.
What?
Yes. Yes. So a lot of time has gone by. So, of course, the show came out. It blew up. The world shut down. I mean, there were no sports. There was no nothing. And everyone's watching. And, of course, I was cringing.
Dying.
Number one buzzword coming out of Love is Blind, cringe.
All right. So
I was cringing and wishing everyone wasn't watching. But, in fact, they were.
You were going through it hardcore.
I was.
Right
Yeah.
So let me ask you this. So I know a new season's coming out next week, which is crazy. That's going to be I think they had a Brazil, didn't they?
They had Brazil and Japan.
So the next season of America is coming out.
Based in Chicago.
Next week.
Shout
okay,
out
so I want to
to my
ask
Chicago
you.
people.
Yeah, you're from
I'm
Chicago.
so excited
Everybody
to see
knows.
Chicago in the background of Love is Blind. It'll be a lot of fun.
That will be fun. So everybody knows, obviously, you from the show. Take me back to, we're a week before the second season comes out, right? So what were you thinking a week before your season came out? And I can't wait to tell you what I was thinking.
I cannot believe this thing got picked up. Because we were season 1 and we had no idea this was going to get sold to Netflix at all. It was kind of a pie in the sky thing. Of course, there was this big production in South Atlanta, which for those that don't know, Atlanta is becoming, quite a center for production and Hollywood type stuff. So once we got there, we kind of knew, hey, this might really be a thing. But of course, after it all wrapped, I was going through so much. I was hoping that this would never get picked up, but hence it did, and here we are.
So, okay, so it got picked up, and then they're like, because I remember I was like, so you were like, the show's going to come out. I was like, oh, cool. And then you sent me the trailer, and I was like, oh, this is like a show. I don't know what I thought you were doing.
Yeah. It became a real thing. So
what were you thinking? Like when the trailer came out, tell us what you were thinking.
I was scared, and it actually got picked. They, of course, sent it out to some reporters beforehand to watch it, to pre-screen. And some of the things they were writing was about people being belligerent and drunk. And honestly, I wasn't even really thinking about that aspect of it. Come to find out, a lot of that had to do with me, which was insane. And, oh, you were there. That's right. By the way, this is my best friend. Have we mentioned that?
Yeah.
This is my best friend. We did meet at church 10 years.
Not quite 10.
7,
a while
8 years ago. A long time ago. And Ashley was there with me throughout this whole crazy taping of the show. And she was, in fact, there at the bachelorette party.
I was there for a lot of it.
And she was not monitoring my drinking level. So
obviously that was new to me. So for people, and for people who don't know, nobody knows, I have a broadcast news background. I've worked as a reporter and anchor for the last 10 years.
She's being humble. She's an Emmy-award-winning
and so recently
Atlanta-based anchor.
Recently left after a fulfilling yet really hard journey.
Terrible 2 years in news.
Yeah, the last 2 years have been awful. And so left in November, so just kind of wanted to give a background on me. And so we met a couple of years ago at church and have been best friends since. And, I want to talk about, though, what made you go on this show? Because I know that a lot of people probably don't know this, but I got a casting or a description or something, an email for this. And I was like, this would be good for my friend Jessica. She's actually looking for love, sent it to you.
Right. I received that in a really weird time. I was getting out of a relationship. It was about a year long and totally not what I was looking for at all. And just realizing I was so far off from finding this person. All my friends are settling down, multiplying, doing their own thing. And I was spending more and more time alone with my dog, as everyone met.
Shout out, P.
Shout out. But it felt like the right time to kind of blow it all up and do something different. I've also been working for 15 years in the tech industry, which has been amazing, and that's really been my focus. So I was prioritizing that over really finding someone. So I thought, hey, this could be a really quick way to kind of find the right person, settle down, and yeah, you kind of feel lost a little bit when you're in your 30s and everybody's settling down and doing their thing, and you're like, wait, I guess I had just been kind of dating around and hadn't really
found the one. And so, like, just to reiterate, this wasn't
it had all been happening around me. I wake up, I'm like 34.
Well, this wasn't let me get famous quick for you.
No.
You weren't thinking, oh my
I
gosh,
had a real job.
Right. This was actually a risk.
I've had a job, and it was a risk. It was a risk to my professional reputation.
I remember you were like crying because you're like, what is my job going to think about this?
Right. Yeah, I had to go back to it. So I actually had to take 2 weeks vacation to even do this, and I had to extend by a week because I did, in fact, end up engaged, which I said in the beginning when they were giving us this whole spiel in this hotel. There's no way I'm doing this. I'm getting out of here. I'll make a couple friends. See you later. Bye. That would be it. But I did end up really falling for it. Once you get in there, it is just a mind trap. And that's what's going to be interesting to see with these 30 singles coming in. It's going to be very interesting for me to watch and kind of play back everything that's happening because
the new season.
You think you can go in there being the most realistic person, being a career-minded person, and once you're in there, you're cut off from the real world, your friends, your family, your whole entire support system, and all of a sudden it's just a whole different ballgame. So it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out with these new 30 singles.
How long was your process?
God bless them. It was 45 days in total.
How long until you got engaged?
10 days.
Start to finish,
and it's
engaged, 10 days. You go on your honeymoon to Mexico, which we all saw. And what's going through your mind? Because you're very I mean, I know Jessica, and I think that was hard for me when the show came out because people were like, oh, you know her? And I was like, it was crazy. But like, what's going through your mind? Because you're a very rational person. You're not a person who I would think would get engaged in 10 days. So like, how are you just fully like enraptured in like what was going on at the time? Like with no contact with the outside world? Like what was...
It's wild because I'm somebody, well, this is how we met. We believe everything happens for a reason, has a bigger plan for us.
Yes.
And I got wrapped up in all the over-dramatization of that exact sentiment.
Like, this is actually, this is my...
I go, oh, he's from the greater Chicago area, which he left when he was like 6 months old. I mean, there's millions and millions of people in the greater Chicago area.
So I've been in Chicago longer than him, basically. And to Netflix's credit, I think that is what they wanted to accomplish with the show, right? Like they wanted to see if love was blind.
And they did. There are two very happy couples out there that
outwardly.
And that we wish them the best. They seem to be doing great, but I mean, it's a gamble. You don't know that person after 47 days. Let's be honest.
After 10 days.
Ashley, you're engaged. You're newly engaged. Congratulations. I am your maid of honor.
It's been,
you did ask me via baked good in the mail.
Oh, yeah.
She sent me a cookie. It happened to crumble. I knew it had a message on it. I didn't know it said maid of honor. I thought it was.
Sorry.
What are the other ones? Oh, bridesmaids.
Yeah. Gary's aunt made those.
It was so sweet, but that's how the cookie crumbles. You're gonna be my maid of honor, of course.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna have to find a baked good.
Well, we'll talk about wedding planning and
But anyway, how long did it take you to decide that this was your person?
It's still ongoing.
5 years. You didn't get engaged for 5 years. Like 30 days.
Yeah.
If you don't get engaged to a person it was 10 days, and then, seemingly the world just starts shaming that
was
you didn't get it.
Was there pressure to be like, I have got to say, yeah? Like, did you feel bad? Like, because you've established a rapport with this person, a relationship behind a wall. Did you feel bad? Like, you know how women, we could sometimes like go along with something because like we just want the best for somebody. Were you like, oh, I would hurt his feelings if I said no? Was it any of that?
Yeah, but I mean, in the end, I want to do the right thing for myself, which is the right thing for him as well.
Right, which is hard.
Because I want to be my best person.
Okay.
But yeah, it's wild. I've been in relationships that are, 3 years long, and then you realize after 3 years, this isn't the right thing for me. So I don't necessarily think that expediting something as big as marriage makes a ton of sense. But I also know that it's a really uncomfortable place to be when you're in your mid to late 30s, honestly. And if you want a family and the world starts telling you that,
so
there was wrong
pressure
with you.
There was some pressure then, and it was pressure on yourself. It was your own pressure
and a lot of toxicity, honestly, in the world around, women, men, however you identify. Getting to a certain place in your life, you look around and everybody has somebody that is settled down. Their priorities start to change, and it feels very uncomfortable. And that's what spurred me into doing something very unnatural.
I think that a lot of people will relate to that because I think a lot of people do it's not irrational, but take risks because they are lonely.
Right.
Would you say that was...
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And it's, being in the tech industry for 15 years and really having my head down, I was ready to blow it up, do something exciting and different. So here we are.
You blew it up.
I survived, okay? And I live to fight another day. And now what we're going to do is we're going to watch the second season from the comfortability of outside of the television. And
it's going to be weird, though, because you're going to know what's going on. It's like when I watch the news and I'm like, oh, like... the producer told him to do that. Or like, you know what I mean? Like it's so interesting because you know what's going on behind the scenes. So how do you think it's going to be like watching it?
I might have a little PTSD.
Yeah, no kidding.
But I'm just going to try to have fun with it. That's kind of how we operate too, which was crazy being in the midst of all of that. And it was why Ashley was such a good friend to me throughout that whole entire experience. It was like, she just kept my head, above all of it. Just
because you were drowning for a minute. And I don't think people understood like the weight that words carry on social media, but that's like a topic for another day. But you were really having a hard time with it because
I got out of there.
You were not doing this for any level of fame. You were literally doing this to find a possible boyfriend.
Right. Well, boyfriend, not probably husband, but
husband.
But
all right. So people want to know what you've been up to in the 2 years since. So kind of take us through. I think like everyone knows you're engaged. It was in People.
I am engaged to the love of my life.
Okay.
And he is the best.
Okay.
He has 2 kids. So I have this cute little instant family.
Stepmama?
I'm a little stepmama to be. Well, I'm kind of like already
stepmama. You already have to step
I'm
into
in
that
it.
role.
I'm in the role, and I'm in love with these 2 little babies. And
That's
it's
awesome.
so fun.
So how long did that take from leaving the show? I mean, so, you left, the show was over in...
March. Mid-March.
Mid-March. You... left Atlanta before that, right?
I left Atlanta for Chicago.
Okay.
Went to Chicago for a little bit to hang out with the family.
Okay.
Ended up out in LA.
Which you left because you were like, gotta get out of here.
I had to go.
Like wrapped taping and said, I gotta go.
It was horrible.
And
I
was
knew
like,
it was going to be
what?
so bad. And my dog was super sick, which most people know now. So it was just very traumatic. But yeah, I got out of there and headed out to LA. And of course, when Ashley comes into town, nothing big in our lives happen unless the 2 of us are together. Yeah. So Ashley, of course, comes into town mid-March, and we go out. I hadn't been on Instagram, so my girlfriend was managing my Instagram. She was swiping left, swiping right on these guys that were coming through. Yeah. Well, Ben happened to come through. And she starts
How do you swipe on Instagram?
Back and forth. Well, I'm just saying.
Oh, like she was like filtering, like she was scanning.
Right,
I got you.
Right.
I got
she's
you.
like yes to this guy, no to this guy.
Okay.
So she starts talking to him, acting like she's me. He lets her know he's coming into town.
This is peak background story that people have never heard before.
No, I don't think people have heard this.
So people are gonna be like, wait, so her friend was like, so like, yes. So your friend was managing your Instagram because you were so overwhelmed by the level of trolling that was going here. So you couldn't even look at it. So you had a friend kind of manage it, help me out with this. I don't want to see certain things. And she, obviously guys were in your DMs. And she was like, all right. Metaphorically swiping left and
metaphorically
right.
swiping.
Okay.
Yeah, so she sees a sweet surgeon come through and he's got his 2 kids and he's this single dad and they start talking back and forth and he reached out saying, you're so genuine, which, she loved. So they start talking back and forth. He mentions that he's coming to LA.
Okay.
So in the midst of this, I'm dating this not so great guy. Doesn't really want to hang out with me, let's be honest. And so Ashley comes to town. We're all going out. I invite the guy out. He doesn't, obviously want to come. So
the other guy.
But Ben had actually, she had given him my number, and he reached out. So he was talking back and forth with me. And I said, hey, why don't you come out? So he did. He showed up by himself.
He was taking hardcore initiative.
He was taking the initiative.
Shows up by himself. I was there.
Ashley was there. Nothing big happens in our lives without each other.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
And he walked in. I was like, oh my gosh, he's so cute. Is this the guy who's here for you?
Yeah. And it was love at first sight. It really was.
Yeah.
Except I wanted to leave almost immediately because I was tired and I'm a grandma and I like to go to bed early.
Same.
So that happened. But the next day, we went on a bike ride and the rest is history. We talked every day. So that's background
because a lot of the articles have thus far said they met riding bikes, which is true. You got to know each other riding bikes.
Yeah. Yep.
You officially met each other riding bikes because like no one wants to be like we met at the club. Like who knows?
Right.
Like and it wasn't a club.
We did meet via Instagram,
You
which
met
is
via
also how
Instagram.
you met your now fiance.
It is.
And we've gotten engaged. Was it like a month apart?
Yeah.
You got engaged first, then I got engaged.
Yeah.
So, and her fiance happens to be my birthday twin, which I definitely
Which
think
is
there's something to that.
They have the
'cause we're
same
best
birthday.
friends. And we went to the singles event at our local church in Atlanta.
Shout out
and,
Buckhead Church.
Yes, the best. And brought us together.
Yeah.
He reaches out because she had tagged a photo.
Yeah.
And I immediately tell her, no, this guy's a creep.
I was like, he DM me. And I was like, look at it. And I think I told the whole small group. I was like, look at this message I got from us, like, because we all went together. And Jess was like, don't do it. This is weird. He's creepy. Why would he DM you? Yada, yada, yada.
You went
which
against all odds.
I feel like right now DMing is so normal. But even in 2016, it maybe was a little like
a bit
weird.
stalkerish.
Yeah.
Love you, Gary.
Yeah.
But it was
Maybe
a little stalkerish. But you went against all odds. I also invited you to a suite at the Cubs game that night, and you forewent those plans to go out with Gary.
Yeah, I was
and
like, let's just see.
So
and it went way better than I thought, and here we are.
the rest was history. You dated for 5 years, ended up in the Bahamas. Gary told me before he was going to propose to you. I tried everything I could to get out there. It turns out not an easy route from LA.
Yeah, you would have been flying half the day. I was like, if she would have came, I would have been so mad because I would hate for you to
Well, it turned out perfectly, though.
Yeah, it was great. It was fantastic.
And we tried
Jessica
on
knew.
wedding dresses
You
together.
knew. My mom didn't even know, and you knew.
Oh, that's sweet.
Yeah, my dad knew. My 19-year-old sister Riley knew, and you knew.
Oh, wow.
But my mom was like, wait, what's going on?
I'm glad he changed plans from the original.
Yeah, tell people what the original plan was.
Originally, he was going to have you two walking on the beach, and he was going to trip. The ring would go into the sand, and then he'd say, oh, what's that?
And for people who don't know Gary, that's like so Gary, too. It's just awkward, like socially awkward.
You go with whatever feels right for you.
You know what, Jessica?
What he ended up doing was
sabotage
so
your ass
sweet.
next time.
So sweet.
And then I got back, and Ben called me the next week, and he was like, "That's so crazy! You got engaged. Congrats! I'm thinking of doing that for Jessica."
He's like, "Thanks for the idea.
No,
I'll feel that."
No, and like he had already been thinking about it, and he was basically just like. Crazy timing, like, and I was like, oh, and that was such a hard secret to keep because we kept talking about my engagement, and I was like, oh, I just want to talk about like yours.
You did keep talking about mine. I'm like, can you please stop? I'm not even engaged.
Oh, maybe it was.
What are you talking
subconscious?
about? Yes.
I was like, when you get married.
Well, and then you jumped right on it. You never know how your friends are going to be. I never thought you would be the bride that you are. You jumped in. You've got everything totally planned, unlike me. I have just been doing nothing.
You're enjoying your
wedding.
engagement.
Just enjoying
it. And I will
it.
say, so we got engaged in July, and for all the bride-to-bes, I would love to hear from you because this has been the most stressful, the most annoying, the most expensive experience of my life. The wedding industry is... I thought I knew what I was getting into. I'm like, oh, perfect, we'll do the venue, we'll do this, that, and the other, and every little thing. And I feel like people are trying to scam me. I hate to say that.
They are.
I'm just like, how much for makeup?
Be honest.
How much for makeup? And I love all the makeup artists. Like, trust me, we can't do anything without you. But I'm like, why is makeup for a photo shoot this cost, and then for my wedding it's triple, and it's the same makeup?
It's the buzzword.
I'm like, how about I just say I'm
because this is the most important
party.
Makeup of your life.
It is.
That's why. So it comes with a price tag.
It is. So there's that. But yeah, so a lot of people saw your engagement in People and online. And did you know about it? Do you have any idea
that it was happening.
Yeah.
I had an idea that it was happening.
Yeah.
It's because I moved out to be with him and his sweet kiddos, and I know that he wanted
like, it
them
better
to
happen.
have, a mother figure in the house and stuff, and we were being this little family, so it just made a lot of sense. So I knew it was coming. I just didn't know how quickly it was coming, and I didn't know that everyone and their brother were going to be there. Yes, except my mom. He forgot to invite her. That sucked.
Okay, people are like
Let's
not
be
gonna.
honest.
People are not gonna
Nothing
pass
is
that, but
ever
they're gonna say,
perfect.
"How did they? How did
Nothing's
he
ever
forget
perfect.
to invite?" I mean, that's such a man.
Well,
but
my parents are divorced,
Yeah.
so I think there's like always a little bit of uncomfortability about
Sure.
that. Like Kim and Kanye.
That's real.
There's a little uncomfortability about that one.
Let's talk about that because you have two bonus kids right now, and
My kiddos.
my parents have had foster kids several times, and my parents have had to navigate having their kids on social, these tiny kids, and it's crazy. It's so much different from obviously when we grew up. There was no TikTok, no Instagram, no Facebook. Thank God, first of all, because that
Thank
would have
God.
been. I look at when Facebook is
My-
like your memories from 10 years ago. This is what you wrote. I'm like, this.
My self-esteem
embarrassing.
would be in the gutter. It's terrible. Well, we have our little one at home. She got an iPad for school.
Okay.
And we realized that she started taping herself like she's talking to her followers. She's like, here's my low bun. Bye, followers. She's 6. I mean,
So what does that mean?
everything, I feel like there's so much about optics. And like, you know this better than anybody,
Yeah.
being in the news media, especially the last couple of years. There's so much about
Yes.
optics, and kind of circling it back to Kim and Kanye. Now it's kind of all, their dirty laundry's coming out a bit in the media.
Just a little.
But I feel like if you're somebody that's going through a breakup or going through divorce, you see all these couples that are coming out and saying, oh, we love each other, we're best friends, and we couldn't ever want anything more for each other, but we're going our separate ways. And it's like, it's not relatable.
It's not. And you're a child of divorce, and you understand firsthand.
Right. So I actually respect, of course, you don't want your kids to ever see all the dirty laundry that's been
mudslinging.
aired, but I just appreciate, after going through everything I've been through the last couple of years, and maybe you feel the same way coming out of the news media and all of like the biases and the lenses that you can get your news through, that, I mean, everything is just optics, you know?
I know.
But I feel like I respect more so than ever just honesty and just being real. Like,
so the problem is, and like you're saying, like their divorce is kind of appearing a little more relatable now, because it's like Kanye's like,
Yeah.
do not put my child on TikTok, and Kim's like, this is a way for her to express herself. And these are two very valid opinions, but there's a child in the middle.
right. And that's, every couple is going to have that situation, right? You're not going to agree on every aspect about parenting. And especially once you go your separate ways and you have two totally different households, which, I understand now more than ever.
Sure.
But it is great that people feel they can relate to things, because there is this, I feel like, sense of positive optics in all of the media.
And I feel like it's a little toxic to just continually, I mean, we look at Instagram, I'm guilty of it. Like everyone's, I mean, I'm not going to post when I'm like looking terrible. I just got out of my news minivan crying all day.
Yes.
I will just text you that it's been the worst day of my life. But on Instagram, I'm like, oh.
And it's
The sky
triggering
is
for
beautiful.
it's triggering for a lot of people. But I think there's something, we get a high off of sharing our good moments, and then we capture it too. We have memories for ourselves that we can look back on, which is great.
Yeah.
There's also kind of circling back to Love is Blind, and when that all came out, which all these contestants are about to be in the same space. When Love is Blind came out, seeing yourself, of course, I didn't have the best run on the show, and
you didn't?
no. People were being very honest and blunt about how they felt about me, and they also felt that they had an angle to talk about my physical appearance as well. And like, to be honest, the only insecurity I really ever had was my nose hairs. When I was in second grade, this kid came under my nose and said, hey, there's a party in your nose and you weren't invited. And it rocks my world.
Name him.
I was miserable.
What's his name?
To this day, Matt
Just
Erickson.
kidding. No.
To this day, I was, it was the worst. And then it's like, there were things I had never even looked at on my face or on my body that people were commenting on. Just taking me apart piece by piece, wrinkle by wrinkle. I'm 34. It's just a matter of time.
What did it do to you?
Well, I kind of had this moment.
And that was after the initial show or after the reunion or after everything?
All of it.
All of it.
All of it. Well, I got the worst makeup on the reunion. As you know, my eyelashes were like upside down. But
Laugh about it.
I know. I know. I was just showing up. Honestly, was like, I'm still proud of myself for showing up.
Huge.
But yeah, I just started getting all these injections after the show. I just needed all the injections to fill all of the wrinkles and all the spaces that people were talking about. And I looked in the mirror one day and I did not recognize myself. And that was the scariest moment of my life. I'm like, who am I and what am I doing? And why am I taking all these opinions? And, to be honest, I couldn't even really look at myself in the mirror. It was like a struggle. And I started to see why people come off these shows and just start injecting themselves, just pumping themselves full of injections. I was there. Now at this point, I've let it all dissolve off my face. One big part of it was you called me out. I went on E! News and you were like, did something happen?
No.
You were like, did you get some sort of procedure done? And I was like, yeah.
In the best
she calls
way.
me out.
I feel like I've
But I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. And it's so tough, honestly. There is this body dysmorphia that starts to happen and you see yourself, I think, totally differently. So like when people will compliment me, even to this day, it's kind of like, oh, no way, you just don't, it's crazy. So
and
that's a whole part of it you don't really think about. And, that's something I would say to the new cast members who are going to put themselves through this ringer. Just be ready for it and know, I don't know if there really is much you can do to protect yourself from it. I would say stay away from social media, get somebody to manage that stuff,
and then meet your husband that way. Have your friend manage your husband. But that's so interesting because we've all, obviously we don't have your platform, but we've all had like a nasty comment or two, or I've had a nasty message or two, just kind of about like the way you look. Like I remember this girl said I had too much makeup on. I'm like, who is this? Like who? And it didn't affect me because I feel like things roll off me a little quicker. But I just was like, why would somebody take the time? What is it in somebody that would take the time to come on someone else's Insta and comment on their physical appearance?
Right.
And so I understand like how you could take that to heart and it have tenfold. So you're having hundreds of people.
Yeah.
And so you're like, holy whatever, I need to get an injection. I need to.
And you go, oh, I never realized this. That's the hard part is you never even had that insecurity in the first place. They're pointing it out and you're going, oh, I had no idea.
And no one said anything about your nose hairs?
I had nope, nobody said anything about that. That was the biggest insecurity that I had. But that's because I take care of them now, Ashley. I have like multiple tools that help trim these bad boys.
Speaking of the new cast, so I'm going to pull them up actually so I could just look. I got to say I was pleasantly surprised.
They announced the cast.
Yeah.
And they tagged them. So you can actually go see
on
their
Insta?
profiles. On Insta, yeah.
So I was pleasantly surprised because I feel like in your cast, everybody was, how do I say this? Everybody was, I don't know, as expected for a reality dating show, right? Like everybody was like super thin and everybody's like, oh, I hit the gym. Obviously, like the guy you were with. And you know what I mean? And I feel like this time it appears anyway on its face a little more inclusive. We've got somebody with natural hair, somebody who's 36, somebody who's...
I think there's a 39-year-old.
Really? Mm-hmm. Somebody who's not stick thin. We've got like several people that maybe Netflix obviously like didn't cast last time.
Yeah, and I think that's great.
Yeah.
I think it's great. I think it seems like they have careers as well, which on my cast, I think there were just a few that had, long-term careers. A lot were real young and just maybe coming out of
like
college,
bartending
or and in the industry, kind of more in the industry type,
like looking
type
for
of crowd,
looking for a come up. Which was different from you because you had a tech job. And I think a lot of people...
Yeah, it'll be a different...
I mean, Jessica's not even going to say all this, but like I think a lot of people are super interested in you because you did have a career. People are like, where did you work? How did you blah, blah, blah?
Well, I still do.
Yeah.
I'm still at the same job.
Absolutely. Like you're not... Yeah, absolutely. And the people are like, wait, how can she like have her own house? Like how does she have a car like that? Like how... And like I think it was so important for people to see like, yeah, women can do this. We're not just like working at Hooters and waiting to get on a reality show.
Right. And I think that was the weird juxtaposition.
And sorry, I don't want to say that about Hooters because I used to buy all my tights from there.
I love Hooters and I love their curly fries.
I used to buy all my tights from there when I was with the Saints. So shout out to Hooters. But you know what I mean? Any restaurant, right? So
Yeah.
I think it's kind of almost like offensive. Like people don't think that like maybe it's like women can have such a successful career. And so I think a
Right.
lot of people were interested in like, wow, you have a full-time, like, wait, you have a job?
I had to take vacation to go on the show. Yes.
Right. And so
Yeah.
like, tell us how like your employees, coworkers like kind of responded to this. Cause I think they were like pretty like, oh wow, like supportive. And like, you obviously didn't get fired. That's good.
So supportive. It's been awesome.
Yeah.
And the tech space is just, if anyone out there is looking to get into
Everyone's
a lucrative
trying to get
career,
in tech.
tech
And there's
is
not a lot of women in
amazing, and-
tech, right? Like,
No, it's growing now.
It's growing?
Significantly. Thank you, Elizabeth Holmes and Theranos, for really leading the way. No, I'm just kidding.
stop.
But no, it's growing significantly, and such a great place to be for women, men, non-binary. You know, it's just so inclusive. And I know at my company we have every every support is there, and regardless, I thought I would get fired immediately. I'm like, this is
You were crying.
This
You were
is so
telling me,
bad,
yeah.
and it was the number one thing I was concerned about.
It
But I have
was.
to tell you, I had so much support from my coworkers.
And how about
it's
Chrissy
just been
Teigen
amazing.
shouting out the company?
And then my CEO came back and was bantering with her. It was really, really cool.
Oh, you're like, perfect. I'm not going to
So,
get fired.
Yeah,
This is
yeah.
great.
So it worked out well, and I ended up having the last 2 years have been the best 2 years of my career, actually. So going heads down,
Look at God.
it worked out really well. And
Can
God
you
came
tell
through.
us anything? I'm going to take a sip of my champagne. Hopefully this gets edited out.
okay,
I'm like,
take
we
a,
should-
take a
I'm
sip of
reaching
that
for it on the
champagne.
ground. Also, speaking of like body image, I'm like, this is a full camera shot. I would have definitely wore sweats if I knew this. Tell us, is there anything you would tell us like behind
She's
the
always
scenes?
dressed to the nines.
I think that's what people want to hear about. They want to know about behind the scenes.
Well, you were behind the scenes as well.
Yeah,
for quite a few
definitely.
of the scenes.
Yeah, and
had
so
my-
what can you tell us
good
like
girlfriend.
with like how do they even do this? How do they put this together? What was it like in the pods? Like what? I mean, were you sleeping bunk beds? I mean,
We were
You
sleeping on
were?
steel bunk beds
you
in a
were?
trailer for a little bit until there was one woman on the show who you didn't really get to see her face, but she complained, so they ended up putting us in a hotel. And yeah, it was actually quite a struggle. There was one mirror that we all shared. We had a trailer with all of our wardrobes, and you were just kind of blind, like flying blind, no pun intended, throwing on your outfit. And we had one trailer that was toilets and one that was showers, and that was really it. So it was.
I don't think I knew this.
It was, I mean, I was pretty proud of myself when that thing came out. I was like, pulled myself together pretty decently for sharing a mirror with 10 other girls.
Strategic.
It was strategic.
Oh, okay. So you guys moved to a hotel, and then I think we saw like the hotels, right?
No, you never saw the hotel.
Didn't you live with
But,
your significant others in the hotels, or
oh, that was an apartment
okay,
in Midtown Atlanta.
okay, that's different. Okay,
That was interesting times.
okay.
But that was.
Give us some juice behind the scenes. Like, what would people be like shocked to know? And I could even think of some things too. But like, what do you think like is the biggest misconception?
I've just noticed since I've gotten into this whole industry, this reality industry, I've met so many people.
This space.
Even last night, we went out with my lawyer, and she took us around all these actors and directors. It's
Producers.
wild. It's a whole different world, but I would just say, like, this podcast we're doing kind of from the ground up, we're going to see what happens and stuff, but I don't know that I want to have a bunch of celebrities on here, because it's like, the number one thing you have to do to grow your podcast is have a celebrity so that you can grow and grow. Like, it's kind of disappointing sometimes when you meet celebrities, because it's not always what you think it is.
Yeah.
Like, I would say, in reality television, it's pretty much all about edits.
Sure. Because,
what
okay,
you see
let's-
behind the scenes, it's kind of like, okay.
And that's the same with news, right? Like I'm literally doing interviews. An interview could be 10 minutes and you get a 20-second soundbite. It's the same thing, right? You have to edit. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. You obviously have to edit because you have to put something together. We're going to edit this podcast.
There's always a story arc.
There's always
What is the story?
Was there anything that you were like, I wish this would have got in? Or I wish...
Into the show?
Yeah, was it The Bachelorette? I know you wish that would have got. I know you wish more of The Bachelorette would have gotten in.
The Bachelorette, that my top actually came down? Yeah. That's what you were so worried about. Like, they're going to show your top came down.
I know.
I'm just glad that you...
I'm
glad...
so, when that episode came out, I was like, damn, they did you a favor.
Oh, my gosh. I cannot believe you let me have that last drink. We also have some behind the scenes footage that we should really... We have so much stuff behind the scenes that we should release.
Insta.
We should release some stuff. It'd be pretty funny to see. But no, the funny thing about that night was I was trying to make amends with Amber, and she didn't want to do it till we're on camera.
I don't
And
know
then
where
I was just
I
like, I don't know what to do. I can't be mean to this girl. I'm just going to give her a little smooch.
And I was nowhere to be found for
It was
that.
so random.
I don't know where I was.
I don't know how to fight. And it was so weird. I was not even in that.
Hey, that was hella fun.
Love
That we
triangle.
went to, if you live in Atlanta, we went to Lips, which
was-
everyone knows is a really
That
good
was
time.
super fun.
Um,
Open bar. Have as many drinks as you'd like, Jessica. Double drinks for you on the house.
and we went to my house after, and like, you don't remember even like go.
I swear to God, I got roofied. Just think of like the most uncomfortable. Like, I'm not used to being around people that are like.
Because I think Yuri
hate
was like,
me. It is
Jessica,
so weird.
Yeah, and you want to be liked so much, and it's like
That's
so
my
uncomfortable.
personality.
It really
I want to be liked,
is.
and there was this whole story that was forming, and it was building.
And you were on the
and
outside.
I was on the outside, and I was just trying to make amends with this girl who I was never going to be friends with. Like when we were in the pods, she kept telling a story about how she lit this girl's clothes on fire in her locker in high school. Like she told the story 3 times. I'm not gonna be friends with this girl. Obviously,
Yeah.
it's
That just
not
ain't my type.
Not
Ain't
interested,
my
and now
type.
she's just mad at me. Well, that's uncomfortable because I have to spend time with her, so I want to make amends here. But
And be the
it
bigger
was
person.
a very wild situation.
Yeah.
And unsettling. And to that point, your last couple years were really unsettling as well.
Oh, quick pivot.
Quick pivot.
Okay, but you didn't answer the question. Was there
Spotlight.
anything that you wanted in the show that didn't make it, or anything that
My career.
you wanted more of that?
'cause
Yeah.
they weren't really spotlighting the careers. There weren't really. I mean,
There
there were a
weren't
few of
any.
us that had long-standing careers, and
Wait, real quick before we get to me,
Yeah.
who do you still keep in contact with?
Kelly,
Okay. Oh
Gigi,
yeah, you knew Kelly
or
before the
Giannina,
show.
Diamond, LC.
Diamond was great. She's so
The,
funny.
the good girls, just really good girls.
LC.
Kenny is a sweetheart. I'm actually going to his wedding,
Oh my!
in
His
April,
real wedding.
and
Like,
his fiance is so sweet.
oh my gosh,
I love her. Damien is also a good friend. I love him to death. And that was pretty much it.
Yeah.
I've heard, Mark's doing well. He's got a second baby. I think they might already have 2 kids.
Okay.
And
People always want to ask you, like, do you still talk to Mark?
I don't, but I literally have nothing
No ill will.
bad to
Don't
say.
even think about it.
The facts are the facts, and they're out there. Sorry, but
Yeah.
I needed that to happen. But no, I do wish him well.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a part of being a bigger
And
person.
you met him and hung out with him, and
Oh yeah, I did.
we'd be friendly. There's no ill will.
That was so random.
So
I was like, who's this guy?
that was a random night. You were like, "Who is this guy?" I'm like, "I'm engaged. Here is my cubic zirconia." It wasn't a real ring. They give you a real ring if you got married.
Well, you
That's the
deserve a
deal.
real one if you get married. But everybody else, was it the same ring?
You could pick. There were 5 styles, but also if you could also propose to the guy and pick his ring.
Did any girls propose?
Giannina proposed to Damien.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So you could pick a band.
So you could pick the band.
And then the guys had 5 CZ rings they could choose from.
Right.
Okay. Do you still have it?
I do.
Okay.
Randomly, it keeps following me around. It's not like I'm trying to keep it.
Is that,
It's one
are
of
you
those
wearing
things.
it today?
Like if they were
I'm scared.
if it was designer sunglasses, it would have been gone a long time ago. Like if I had overpaid for it and it was sunglasses,
Oh,
it would
I
be
see what
gone.
you're saying.
But it's this really cheap ring, and it keeps.
It's kind
just
of a memory.
hanging
It's kind of a token, right? Or is
yeah.
it kind of weird?
Why not? Why not? It's fine. It's fine.
So do you consider this your second engagement?
No. Do you? Do you consider
No.
it my second engagement?
No.
No way.
No. Because
No way. I consider that just a crazy venture into television.
but
That's
some
what I
people are still
consider it.
married.
Some people are still married.
It's so hard for me to wrap my mind around.
Do you think they're happy?
I think
I
that,
hope they're happy.
yeah, I think that people show highlights, is what I think.
Even if you're not happy in that situation, I think you fake it.
I think
till
until you make it, baby.
That's right.
Because you got a lot of people you could
Reality
let down.
television.
You got a business to run. It is what
Do
it
it.
is.
Do it.
But
Do it
I
your
think,
way.
I think Instagram is highlights. I'll just say that.
Totally.
So
And
yeah, keep
on
going.
that point,
On that point,
I have so many questions about news media the last couple
Okay.
years and
everyone's got
coverage
questions.
of the pandemic, biases around coverage of the pandemic. I know for me personally, I didn't watch the news for a long time, but I struggled because my best friend, being the face of the news in Atlanta, and like there was rioting happening, you were in the middle of it, very uncomfortable. And also behind the scenes, I know you were struggling with a lot of stuff. some
Yeah.
stuff I experienced in, doing a reality show, ageism, sexual
Literally,
harassment,
totally.
on and on, were
Totally.
things you experienced. And, as Ashley's best friend, Ashley had been struggling for a long time and wanted to get out of that industry. Now,
know.
everyone that was watching Ashley, it looked like a really glamorous position.
Sure.
And, every day she's got a new look, perfect lighting, and, it looks a lot more glamorous than it is.
It is. I
So-
mean, news is a grind, and news is a hard job. Like, being a journalist is, I don't want to say it's a thankless job, because I do think I do think you're appreciated to some extent. It's been definitely difficult over the past 2 years. We've been less appreciated. But it's a grind. It's a really hard job, and it's kind of all I've ever known my entire professional career, right? So I've reported in several states, and the last 2 years, the last 2 years have been hard on everyone, and I don't think that's a surprise to anybody. I think that's why we're seeing the Great Resignation, like last year, like record people quitting their jobs in November, I believe. Just people are like, I'm done with this shit. I'm moving on. I'm not doing this anymore. It's not worth it. Life is short. Like, we're in a pandemic. And so the last 2 years were brutal, and starting with the pandemic, like, where
And you're in it day in and day
day
out.
in it, and so everybody's like, okay,
It's depressing news.
Oh,
Depressing
absolutely.
and on top of depressing news.
absolutely, everyone's company is like, go home. We're gonna be safe. Please be home. And then the news is like,
You're going out
get
in
your
it.
ass out there.
Right.
And so, and obviously now I'm a little more comfortable going out on the scenes and like that kind of thing. But like, I mean, in March, in April, like when we knew nothing about this and we're just hearing about like people dying, and like, it was so traumatizing to have to put on a face of like knowledge and like get the facts and report the facts while also being scared crazy and wanting to be at home with my fiance and my dogs. And so, yeah, that's kind of where it started, where, I was kind of evaluating like, how much do I want to do this, right? Like, I love reporting. I love meeting new people. I love
Right.
telling stories. I love like uncovering situations. I love breaking stories. I love all of that, and you get really cool access to people. You can talk to the mayor when you want to.
I mean, you interviewed Stacey Abrams
Yeah,
last
I
year.
can talk to Stacey Abrams. Like, it's really cool access, but there's a point where you're like, is this worth it? And so that I kind of hit that wall when the pandemic started. And so, yeah,
Right.
Atlanta obviously had some of the worst riots.
And you also, Ash, had people coming for you.
Oh, absolutely.
Because you're also taking in the news and filtering it yourself.
Yeah.
What do I believe?
Yeah.
But you have to deliver
Yeah.
unbiased news.
And so that's
right?
been so
But
hard too. Like,
can you really deliver unbiased news?
so yes, I have always prided myself on being super objective, because that is how you're a good reporter. People will call you out. Now, people have started to call reporters out more than ever. Like, now, like, you're not getting one over on the viewers anymore. You know what I mean? Like, people are like trying to fact check you. People are trying to catch you in a mistake or whatever. And so, like, obviously I try to be as objective as possible, but it's like what we were talking about earlier. It's like, people have their biases. Everybody has their biases. And that is just a fact. That is just a fact. And so when you're covering stories, you're trying to be objective. But maybe subconsciously in your reporting, you say something that
You're still human. You still have your
you might say
beliefs.
something that's like somebody else would see as, whoa, why are you on that side? And you're like, what side? And so, for instance, like I said earlier, like some of these racial justice movements, obviously I have a side on that. Obviously I do. You know what I mean? And so while you're trying to be objective in your reporting, maybe something that I said or something that I tracked came off as super biased to somebody else.
Right. Well, and people are so one-sided right now.
People want to
and they
watch and
want
listen to what they agree with.
Exactly. And they want to spew hate at the other side.
And
so.
people think the truth is what they agree with. And so I think that has just been really dangerous lately, and that, like, the truth is what I think. The truth is, like, my point of view and my experience. And then the other side is saying the same thing. And so nobody's listening to each other anymore.
Right.
And, I would be out on scenes and people would be like, fake news. I'm covering a story about like a chicken shortage at Kroger. Like, this is not like, you know what I mean? And like the biases are really obvious in national outlets, right? So some of these cable outlets, and you're really seeing like, well, okay, they're on this side, they're on this side. And local news, we're literally at your local city council. We're covering like local stories. Like, it's not the same. And I think a lot of people don't understand that. A lot of people think, oh, you work for Fox Atlanta, you work for Fox News.
Oh,
and
right.
You're like, no, I'm actually trying to do a turkey giveaway for like homeless people in Atlanta.
Aw.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
And so people just see everything through one lens right now. And so the last 2 years have been hell. And so you're coupling people hating you with the pandemic and the riots, which was, like nothing I've ever covered before in my entire life. Which was just crazy in itself. Atlanta had riots nonstop for weeks
it was
and weeks
so
and weeks
scary.
and weeks. It
And
was
you
so
were
scary.
in the middle of it.
It was very scary. We had security with us, but I mean, I was out. I mean, I was doing like 15-hour days. There was no...
And you're riding around in a van.
Oh,
You're
and
not,
I didn't even have a van at the time.
and you're basically,
First of all,
you're driving the van. It's
Yeah.
not like this glamorous thing.
No.
And the whole time it's been the last couple of years. It's been probably 3 or 4 years. And there was something unsettled in Ashley about all of this. Of course, it looks great and you want to climb the ladder and, there's some appeal to that. But there was something in you that was unsettled, that this is not it, right? I don't like how people are being treated behind the scenes. You couldn't even watch the morning show.
No.
Which I loved the morning
I
show.
get triggered. Like, I can't even watch the
very
certain
spot
news
on.
stuff now. I get very... it's like when you watch reality.
Yeah,
There's
totally.
something in it that
And-
I just say, I can't even watch this because it's triggering.
Well, I'm just proud of you that you recognize that it wasn't aligning with you and that it wasn't
And that was just
in your
local news.
best
It wasn't
interest
serving me
and-
anymore. I
Right.
gave it my all. I mean, talk about missing holidays. I mean, how many times did I have to miss something because I had to work? I mean, you miss holidays, you miss weekends, you miss super important events. You put the job before everything. And then, at one point I just had to step back and say, how much longer am I going to allow this job to like run my life?
You were unsettled.
And I think that's that's not just with news. I think that's with a lot of people who say, maybe you're in a crazy sales job, like a medical device. And it's just like your world. You're putting it before everything. And then I think the pandemic allowed people to step back and say, wait a second, this is not worth it. The money's not worth it. I mean, I was even to the point where I was like, if they came back and offered me like 30 grand more I would say no. Like, it's not even about that. It's like, I got to prioritize me.
Right. And it's your life. It's your lifestyle.
It's my life.
Right.
And Gary was so used to me coming home at 3 a.m, or I got to go to work at 2 a.m, or I got to work this weekend, or I got to work, the football is running over on Sunday. I'll be home at 1 a.m. Like, it was such a weird lifestyle that I was so used to that I didn't understand that other people were normal.
Right. And I think,
really sad.
even now, look at what we're doing. We're stepping into this podcast world. A lot of people are quitting their 9-to-5s. I feel like the entrepreneurial world sometimes labels 9-to-5s as less than, which I don't agree with at all.
At all. Most people work 9 to 5s.
I love being a contributor, and it's been such a blessing in my life. But so many people are stepping away from a normal, traditional career and moving into more of a creative space, which I'm super excited that we're taking on this endeavor together. And I'm so excited to see where this goes.
Yeah. And it's another thing with news. I wouldn't even have been able to do this because they own your life.
Yeah.
And it's like, this is not worth it.
And now you're stepping into this new career. You're able to do this podcast on the side, and your second job, your wedding planning.
That makes me so anxious. Even when you say wedding planning, I just go,
We're going to have to do one podcast on wedding planning.
Oh, and we would love to hear from people because I'm like, am I the only one who thinks this is just horrendous?
I also just feel like there are no good accounts out there to follow. Is it just me? I feel like
I think
there's
the
not
the wedding
of
industry is very
people covering us.
Well, the wedding industry is very like, oh my gosh, it's so exciting. Oh my gosh, get this tote that says Mrs. Get this clutch. It says.
I'm not into it.
And I'm just like,
I'm
I
over
don't
all
want
that
that.
stuff.
And I don't want to like down anybody who's got that kind of stuff because like it is so exciting. But I feel like for me anyway, and I don't know if it's because I'm getting married in my 30s. I have no idea. But I don't think that's like a huge accomplishment.
Well, and that's
marriage, a huge accomplishment is a promotion at work. A huge accomplishment is doing a podcast.
I agree, and it's the world.
I
has
think it's
become,
toxic to say that if you're not married, like, oh, you're missing out on this big thing.
Engagements, marriages, and babies. And for me, it's so strange. There are so many other things that
celebrate.
we do that we don't celebrate
That's
too.
right.
And it's your friend gets out of a relationship, they choose themselves over some toxic person, or they leave a job
And we're like,
that they've been loyal to that hasn't served
when
them.
I left this
and
job,
we don't celebrate it.
No, when I left news, I can't tell you how
What
many
is
people
going
were
on with
like,
that?
oh my gosh, but you're so good at it.
Oh, and everyone I told Ash, what? She's leaving that? Because it looks so glamorous. And the
I'm
optics
so good at
are
it. Like,
so
I
good.
get no sleep. Like, what?
Celebrate the things that propel us forward in life and that make us happier and, lead us to ultimately where we're supposed to be.
And you know what? For some people, marriage is that. I just don't like the blanket. This is like what you should be.
You made it.
You made it.
Miss
You got
to
married.
Mrs.
Miss to Mrs. You got married. You really did it. I really don't like that.
No. And I think it's the appeal of all of us hoisting that up in lights that leads people to do unnatural things, like going on some show that you have no idea what it is to marry someone in 30 days that you don't know.
Jessica's like, I'm going to make it.
It's cyclical, okay?
It's so
Let's stop
true,
celebrating
though.
this stuff. Of course we want to celebrate this. It's magical and it's
It's beautiful.
It's a thing.
It's like
it's beautiful,
yeah.
right? But this whole traditional man-woman marriage, walk down the aisle, have babies,
Stay in it whether or not you're happy.
stay in it regardless, make it work. I want to celebrate somebody that's strong enough to leave, someone that chooses themselves. Of course, we root for love. We're excited for these couples that are coming into Love is Blind. We want them to find love. That is the
But
best
it's
case
just a
scenario.
part of your story.
but
It's not your
we're
entire
going to root
story.
for everyone. We're going to root for the people that are strong enough to choose what is best for them.
And like, also, what does that
and
mean
deal with
for
the
like our
repercussions.
single friends? So like, if we're so celebrating like somebody, like you taking someone's last name, what does that mean for our single friends? Like, we're just saying, sucks to be you.
Right?
And you felt
I have
that.
been
You
that
felt
person for
that.
a long time. I've walked away from like 3-year relationships
Yeah.
multiple times.
You've
'Cause
walked
it's
away
like,
from some really
"Oh,
good
I'm not
situations
sure."
too.
Really good. Yeah. I mean, when I was 30, I was dating this guy and, we were best friends and he was a mentor to me. He was 8 years older. He could have been Mark's dad, essentially. Living in a very
People
glamorous
think you're obsessed
life.
with numbers, but
I
keep
was
going.
living, I guess I am a little bit.
He was 8 years old. Yeah.
And I'm in sales, so I could say it.
Yeah.
this way.
You were living, you were in Texas.
But I was in Texas and living just a beautiful life. And, most women would not walk away from it, but it wasn't serving me. I felt there just was something off, something wrong. And he was the best guy, but it wasn't working out. And I came back to Atlanta. All of a sudden, I was alone. And it was a tough blow. But what
you're telling
led
people
me
is
to the right
you
place
left
at the right time.
a comfortable financial situation and you left on your own. And that was something that, like, I think to be celebrated. Like, I mean, we've talked about this so many times and you came and started over,
Yeah, and a lot of people, I think, looked at me as a failure.
For doing that.
Yeah, for doing that. And I'll say at the time, I couldn't really own what I was doing. I was scared, and I left, and I didn't really tell him. I didn't give him much advance at all. It was like that day, and my moving truck was showing up. I was scared. I was like, I got to get out of here. Like, I don't want him to steal my dog. It's scary, too. It's just a pressure we put on ourselves. But I'm so proud of myself for, all the moves that I've made, and I'm proud of you for everything you've done. We haven't settled. I'm proud of us. We're engaged now. We're each other's maid of honors, but we're still going to continue,
Having independence.
making the right decisions for us.
Yeah.
And even if it's tough, even if it's,
Yep.
not easy for everyone else, even if it's something that someone else might be able to, pick apart and shame us for, and we're going to support and celebrate all of you who do the same.
Yeah.
We are going to have a hotline.
Oh, yeah.
So if anyone wants to talk to us about their unsettling situations, please do that.
Look, we don't have it all figured out, but we could chat, we could talk through it with you.
One step at a time. I set it up.
Oh, you did?
I'm learning all these things, you guys. I'm learning all these things in the background. And it's been a lot of fun. I'm also, I'm happy to share some of these things out too.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're setting up this hotline. So hotline in. Let us know your thoughts. Hotline bling.
Yeah. I want to know people's thoughts about all things weddings. And I'm so excited for The Bachelorette. And I'm so excited. But I think it's like, I'm excited to hang out with my friends.
I got the whole thing planned.
Yeah. But I'm not, I think that's so interesting. So call us out too if you're like, oh, that was this. I feel this way. Like, I'd love to hear that. Maybe that's like the newsy in me, but I kind of want some pushback. Like, if
I
you
have a shield. You can
Yeah.
not say anything at this point that is going to offend me.
You've heard it all.
Let us know what you want to hear, what you like, what you don't like. Mm-hmm. We're happy to hear it, and we will we'll keep going. We'll keep doing this thing. If people like it,
They'll
keep
love
tuning
it.
in.
They'll love it.
So thank you guys all for tuning in. It's so special to us that you're here with us. If you liked what you heard today, please keep showing up, subscribe, and leave us a 5-star review. If you don't like it, just
leave us a
go
5-star
away.
review. Don't
No, just
review
kidding.
Jessica's appearance on Love is Blind season 1. Review this podcast.
Watch After the Altar and then watch. If you missed After the Altar, go back and watch it, then listen to us. But we really appreciate you being here. This means everything to us. We're going to keep showing up and doing our thing, and hopefully
And we
you'll
can't
like
wait
it.
to take questions from you guys on
wanna
like
hear from
career, wedding, love. We're not the experts.
Let
but
us
we
know what
can
you think
do
of these
whatever
Love
we
is Blind
want.
contestants. How many, who do we think is going to be together at the end?
Who's
going to
be the next Jessica? Who's going to be the next Jessica?
Who will be the next Jessica? Will there be another Jessica? We'll see.
There will never be another Jessica. Jessica's show. All right. Thanks so much, guys.
Appreciate you guys.